Journal Night.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Rangers Journal, your Tuesday club. My name's Scott Mackay, and I'm your host for tonight. So, I don't think we need to go over this too much, but Rangers Football Club are in a great way in terms of transfers just now. So, what we've done tonight is we've put a lot of work in. We've looked at some youth players, we've profiled them, we've come up with different starting 11s with what's already in the building, and we're just going to sit and have a wee chat about what we could do if we potentially do not make any more moves in the transfer market. First up, I'm joined by Gary. Gary, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, Scott. So I'm freezing. It's actually getting winter time. It's not even the end of August yet. I was sitting in here thinking how cold it was, but other than that, I'm doing all right.
Kev, how are you, pal?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Looking forward to something a wee bit different tonight on the pod. I'm excited. How about you, mate? How you doing?
I'm absolutely fine, pal. Bit of a rush here, but we got here. Thanks to Doug for making up the slides last minute for me yet again. And Mitch, I don't need to introduce you. How are you, mate?
Always better for seeing your face, son.
What did
If
we
you
last
could stop, to be fair, see if you could stop sneezing, I'm starting to think you're allergic to us.
Got a last minute call coming on, I think. Right, so anyway, we'll speak about some youth players first. We'll profile them and then we'll get into our starting 11. So the first big elephant in the room is Alex Lowry, right? Now, these stats are just our first team appearances, so it's really, really difficult to get a true reflection on a player's ability. So we'll read out the stats and then we'll come around you guys and see what your general opinion is on Alex Lowry, right? So his transfer market value is at 300,000. He's 21-year-old, 6 foot, 12 appearances, 10 starts, 1 assist, 731 minutes played, 67.2% pass accuracy, 44.4% long ball accuracy, 2.34 chances created per 90, 2.9 successful dribbles per 90, and he's been fouled 1.6 per 90. Now, to me, is some of it's relatively, I can understand it, some of it's a load of bump for it, I'm going to be honest. But, Gary, where are you at with Alex Lowry just now?
I think it's just, you like him. Do you know, he's one of the players that, well, Mitch might not when we come to him, but he's an elegant footballer. Do you know, there's something about him, you think that he's got some sort of talent. He's got a touch in the ball. But I don't know if it's a bit of a myth. Do you know, it's one of the things when I'm reading your stats here, 12 appearances and some of the statistics that go with it. I wonder if it's what you think is the case as opposed to the reality. He's got, in the games I've seen him, obviously I've seen him a few times, and he's looked like he had some of the attributes. No, actually, do you know, if you think of Diamande, do you know what, you watch Diamande and you think he's got some of the attributes and the ball comes to him, the way he turns and moves. And I always remember when you watch Lowry, I always thought similar things. But for whatever reason, he's not kicked on. He's not kicked on because he didn't do that well at Hearts last year. Scored a good goal against Hibs, was it? I can't remember. But it never really went very much further for there. There seems to be an issue. There's rumours all the time about attitude problems. There's rumours all the time about his lack of ability, lack of desire to track back. But in terms of natural ability, you know, it reminds me of your Cantwells, your Hadges, you know, those guys that have a vision and a touch that probably a lot of the players don't actually have in the team. So to me, it's a shame more than anything else that he's 21 now. He's not really getting any much, doesn't appear to be in the picture. I'm slightly surprised. I didn't realise he was as tall as that. It doesn't really look it, but no, it doesn't look like he's got a future, despite the fact that he's his most talented younger player, skill-wise, we've had for a couple of years.
I think personally, if we done a wee comparison with Tom Lawrence just now, I'd be very intrigued to see what would come up, to be brutally honest with you, considering the limited information we can get on Lowry and then look at Lawrence. I see what he done. Did you see his goal for a B team last week, Gary?
Outstanding.
And I look at that and I think, oh, come on, there's got to be something there. Kev, sorry, Gary, on you go.
Well, listen, I don't think any, and I'm assuming most people think he's got quality. There is ability there. It's just the rest of the package doesn't seem to enamour himself to other managers.
Aye, I know, mate. I know. Kev, where you at with Alex Lowry?
Probably not too dissimilar to what Gary's saying. I think he's definitely got bags of ability there. We've obviously seen it in flashes. I think probably the biggest problem with Lowry is that how does he actually fit into the way Clement wants to play? I think it's more the off the ball stuff is where he seems to struggle with, where he's maybe just a bit too much of a luxury at times when trying to play in this shape. There clearly is something in the background. I know he obviously had his personal problems last season. There clearly is something there that the last 3-4 managers haven't actually fancied giving him a proper run in the team. we have seen like bit parts, appearances here and there under all different managers. I think I might have actually said right at the start of the season on my first pod here that I thought this was the season that Alex Lowry is really make or break. It's either this season or he'll more than likely either be moved on, or I don't know when his contract's expired, if this is his final year. This is probably really his last chance to try and really go and prove himself. I thought maybe that loan deal to Hearts last year would have been a good move for him. He seemed to start okay, but sort of faded away, then came back to us. I know there was rumours around how he was injured, and Rangers weren't aware of that when he came back. But I don't know. It's really hard to tell because we obviously won't see what he's like in training, won't see his attitude, etc. But I think see it's infuriating. I think actually Doug uses the exact words in the comments there. I think it is infuriating to see someone that's clearly is talented, clearly gifted. You've seen like ex-players. I think Andy Hadley spoke about how Lowry's great technically, but it's just a shame we haven't seen that turn to fruition and getting more first team minutes.
Aye, definitely. I don't want to touch too much upon the boy's personal circumstances, but we know his mum passed away. I think Paul's right. Some fans are filling in the blanks about his attitude. We've had William on for RFC Youth updates, and he has says words to the effect that it's kiboshed any kind of attitude problem that Alec Lowry is showing in training, etc. Mitch, I know you've got a completely different view on Alec Lowry, so I'm going to bring you in now.
So,
where you at, mate?
I'm in a conflicted place for him, to be honest with you. And I think that's probably the best way to sum up Alec Lowry as a player for Rangers at the moment, as conflicted. You know there's a player in there, but I think the problem is he plays like a player with too much luxury and too much flair behind him, and thinks that he can get away without doing the tracking back, and he's quite lazy in that respect. And he's not done enough for me in his career so far to justify just being a flair player and not just getting his sleeves dirty like everybody else. I think sometimes reading stats are kind of, you know yourself, stats can say a myriad of things about somebody. You know, you look at that and you go, 1 assist in 12 appearances, but when you break the minutes down over 90, it's 8 full games that he's played. It's not really an awful big sample size to play with. I think probably the fairest assessment on him is that first half of last season with Hearts, where he was in the team fairly regularly, he was pretty consistent, and we got an idea of just what he can actually bring to the table. And I think, is he a player that we can afford to have right now? Probably not at 21. And I think that's purely because I think he's still been quite lucky that he's got that youth tag still attached to him at 21. But at 21, I expect somebody to have had at least, let's say, 40 first team games behind their belt at our level, and he's still yet to have 40 first team games under his belt so far. And I think, you know, and again, some of that will be through his personal circumstances, but can we afford to carry him into this season and rely upon him to be a game changer? I think it's too much expectation on too inexperienced shoulders.
I think you're right, but then I look at Ross McCausland and I think we flung him in last season, they done all right. I think he's developing quite nicely, Ross McCausland.
I think the difference, just to jump in there, I think the difference when you look at McCausland is that the effort he puts in, both on and off the ball. So I think he's like less of a luxury because I think he can provide to be like a workhorse defensively, as well as like giving in full maximum effort going forward. Whereas I think if you've got Lowry playing in the front of that midfield, I think you need to have the legs to be able to track back and do the dirty work, as well as helping out your forward players to do the press, which I think from the short amount of times we've seen him, it's not really been evident that that's something he's either able to do or willing to do. I'm unsure of which one of them it is. But I think Paul makes a comment there. We haven't seen him get a run of it. But I think the problem is that if we're in the position we're in just now, can we really afford to just give someone a run of things on the unknown if he's unable to do it or not? Because I think I'd imagine Clement or Gio or Beale or whoever else before it, I've probably looked at Lowry and went, I don't think he's capable to be able to do that consistently for us, hence why he's not been given the chance. So I think there's been loads of times where people have been crying out for Lowry to get a chance, and there just must be a reason why he's not. It can't just be he's not exactly young anymore. But if you look at youth players, he's 21, he's matured, he should be able to be playing for us now at that age.
There's a bit of a weird thing with Lowry as well, obviously. All the pre-season footage that we've seen that involved Lowry and Clement together, just about every second clip, Clement was losing the rag at him for not tracking back and not doing what he was instructed. And I think you ask yourself, is it immaturity and inexperience as a player where he thinks does he understand what he's been asked to do, or is it that he thinks that he doesn't need to do it? And and that's a question that only the gaffer and the people behind the scenes will know the answer to. And I think, as fans, do we want him to become the next player that will lay so much expectation and so much pressure on before he's actually properly kicked a ball in his Rangers career? Or do we want to afford him that chance to breathe? And I think his best chance to breathe and get the experience is pen another 1 or 2 year deal, go off on loan somewhere, like maybe go back to Hearts, go back to Dundee United, go back to a team that he is going to get a run of 5, 6, 7 games in the team uninterrupted, and let's see what your metal is, son. Like, let's go and see what you've got.
Yeah, I think that game maturity does come with the games away from it. And I don't think he's at that point where he can get that with us. I think he definitely will get more game intelligence the more he plays at first team level. But I think he's just going to try to get that right loan team, because he needs to go to somewhere that's going to play football similar to the way that we do. There's no point in maybe going to like bottom league sides that are just going to humph the ball up the pitch, because he's not really going to take anything from that. But maybe the likes of a Hearts or a St Mirren, or I think he's probably not going to get a game at
Dundee United have played some pretty decent football this season so
Yeah.
far. Like, wouldn't mind saying, don't get me wrong, he can stay in a nice orange shirt and all.
Yeah.
True.
And
Right, anyway, lads, let's move on, because we've got a lot to pile through tonight. Mitch, you say about a guy that I think Hull support wants to pin their hopes on. Here he is, Bailey Rice. So, as we all know, there's a clamour amongst the support to get a number 6 in, and Cammy, our own podder, wants a specialist 6. Now, the reason I pulled Bailey Rice is there's very limited stats available on him, right? But when you look at what we're missing in midfield, as I'm trying to think in terms of saving money, could this guy be a decent enough squad option? So he's 17-year-old. He's had 2 Scottish Premiership appearances. He's only played 13 minutes, right? There's not much to say in terms of stats, but Gary, I'll come to you first. Where are you at in terms of Bailey Rice, and what role would you like to see him play this season?
So, to me, the interesting thing about Bailey Rice is that we do not have enough midfielders with Raskin being injured, with a lack of a number 6, and he hasn't played a minute yet, is it? I don't think he's played a minute yet in the 5 games, if I remember rightly. So it doesn't particularly lend itself very well to a likelihood of him going to be starting for us in the near future. I think now's the chance. If he was going to play, and Raskin's injured, we're going to play till before we sign somebody. So, well, if this year's maybe coming a bit early for him, it's hard to say. I think you said he's got 13 minutes. Is that what you said? So, if anybody in this box of 4 knows anything about him, please come and tell me. I know nothing other than what I read in the media, anything and what you read in the group chats. And the suggestion is that he's the second coming of Barry Ferguson. And I think it's hard to know. We're basing it purely on what you read as opposed to what you actually see. He looks, he's physically, stature is physically strong, big for a 70-year-old boy. But again, it's a bit like the Lowry thing. In some ways, there's a reason why Clement's not playing him at any point in the game. So he must have a view that he's not ready. He's either not ready, or the other options like Dow, like Sterling, who aren't actually specialists in a central midfield position, are better than him at this point in time, which is a slight worry.
I'd agree. I'm just thinking in a transfer sense. So could Bailey Rice come in, develop, and save his money? Because it doesn't look as if we've got much. I mean, Abdallah Sima's away to France. 6 million obligation to buy end of the season. He's away to Brest. That's him. That's that dream gone. So that's another. Albion Rahmani, supposed target, gone. There seems to be target after target. So I think Rangers as a club need to look from within. And that's why we're doing this whole pod tonight, is to try and see what we've got, our resources, you know what I mean? And I think Bailey Rice could be massive towards that. It's just kind of, Kev, where you at on Bailey Rice?
In terms of Bailey Rice, probably similar to Gary. I'm not going to sit and pretend that I know loads about him, or that I've seen lots of his games that he's played for the youth team. I think because I was actually looking at some of his stats, actually earlier on when we were putting him as one of the options, and he's got a good pedigree at the youth level. He's picked up quite a lot of appearances for Scotland's under 17s and not all the way up to the under 18s team, or up to under 23s. And I think that clearly is a good player there, because I don't think you're getting picked for the national setup and getting a game consistently with the national setup if you're not a good player at a good standard. Rangers obviously seen something from him when he was at Motherwell, where he was a good player. I think purely the only reason why we've not seen him is there seems to be a fear in Scotland and probably just the UK in general just to play younger players. When you actually look abroad, they play younger players all the time. Barcelona, for example, on Saturday, for the first league game of the season, they had 3 17-year-olds win. I know you're talking like different scales in terms of club sizes, but other teams that are successful have trust in their academy and they play the players from the academy and make them better. I just think there seems to be a fear because probably the expectation to win is so high at Rangers that people are scared to put them in case it doesn't go wrong. But I think if you look at the time right now where clearly the board are putting that trust within Clement to rebuild the team, they're not going to cut ties with him. So probably why not try and put some of the younger players in? Because I think in time they will get better. They clearly will be hungrier. And I think you sort of seen that in pre-season when they got flashes of appearances throughout that. I thought they did look younger and looked more energetic on and off the ball. But yeah, I would love to see him in it. I know we're going to touch on who we would like to see come into the teams, and a bit of a spoiler, I've put him in mind in the midfield, just purely because I would like to see something a wee bit different in there, and to be able to push Diamande one forward. And if we've not got the funds to bring in someone else, then why not take the risk?
Definitely, mate. Mitch Curry brings up a really good point. We need to get real. The squad is as it is, winning nothing this season. Better to get youth in now, not only get experience, but also to see if they're good enough. That's basically the crux of this pod for me tonight. This is why I'm doing it, is to offer solutions instead of speaking about the problems that's currently there. So where you at with Bailey Rice and Curry's point?
So we spoke about this actually not that long ago, you and I, away from the pod, about Bailey Rice and what my own expectations for Bailey Rice are this season. I think for him, 10 first-team appearances this season should be the benchmark for him. Now, I'm not saying 10 starts, but maybe 10 bouts are 15, 20 minutes here or there when games are 1-0 up, you're coasting, everything's good. You know, that's the games to drop him in, because we've seen it against Birmingham. He's confident on the ball. He's happy to shout for the ball. He's one of these players that, and I know I'm going to almost contradict what I said about Lowry. I don't want to see him going out on loan to learn that. I want to see him serve his apprenticeship in the first team just now. And then that way we can assess, as fans, and obviously Clement and his backroom staff can say, right, under the big stadium lights at Ibrox, is he going to choke under the pressure? Is he ready for the pressure? And if he is, then that's okay, because we can let him go and get a loan, get used to first team football, you know, come January time, let him have a wee breather out there. I think last season we definitely done the right thing by him of let him get his standard grades and his hires and that, focus on his education and be a schoolway, and don't come in to a toxic environment between the stands, what was going on in the park, and the whole mess that was going on around the club at the time. At that point, I think a lot of us forget, last season he was only 16 when Mick Beale was hyping him up at the start of the season, and you know, the boy hadn't even had his first shave at that point. Like, let him get that under his belt first before you want to throw him in the deep end. But I don't see anything wrong with, over the course of the season, 10 first-team appearances, have him in there, and he's going to have some experience around him, likes of, and I know we don't like to say his name out loud, but likes of Kieran Dowell. He's going to have guys like Connor Barron and that to lean on in that position around him and guide him through. That's why we have first-team starters and first-team players and first-team squad players.
Mitch, can I come in just to make you cry for a wee minute, mate? There's been some breaking news off of Twitter that Atlanta United have been in negotiations with Rangers over a $6 million deal for striker Cyril Dessers. The agreement between clubs is close, but the move wasn't agreed on the player side yet.
I would like to point out
the guy that's broken news has got quite a big following and stuff on Twitter, so just saying, mate.
I would just like to point out who Doug put that in the comments there, and I was having a really nice day until you told me that. So cheers for that, mate. I was having a great day, like twice today that you've ruined my day. So cheers for
that. Right. Anyway,
Doug,
sorry.
I'll have up for you after, son.
Right, straight into Ryan Fraser. That's brightened my night up a wee bit, by the way. I'm feeling a lot better now. So Robbie Fraser. Ryan Fraser plays for Southampton or something. I'm too happy.
He's also 32-year-old and also let's just behave yourself.
I know. So,
I know he's aerodynamic like you, but come on.
Robbie Fraser, lads, there's not much stats on Robbie Fraser either, but I'm not going to get through them because we need to get through this quite quickly. The Bridvan's injured, Gary. Is this not a perfect opportunity? If Hefty is going to get used for the forward, to bring Robbie Fraser in and just play him. Just play him. It's easy as that. We've been linked to another Croatian left back for Salernitana. What is the point? Just play the player. Do you not agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Bridvan's injured now. He'll be injured again in a couple of weeks. He'll be injured again a couple of weeks after that. So there's always going to be an opportunity for him to get a game. I suppose Hefty's only 20. You know, Hefty's that young player, isn't he? That's second choice at the moment. So he's
21 or something.
20, I think 2021. So he's probably the young player that's filling that position as a backup at the moment. Although it's Bridvan 22, 23, can't remember. Fraser's obviously, the games I've seen him, he looks pretty dynamic. He looks to have a good touch. He looks as though he's got ability and attributes you would want. I see no reason why he shouldn't be playing. I suppose it's about like the previous one. He should certainly get in game time. Whether it's starting every week until Real Madrid is fit, I'm not sure, because I think Hefty's maybe the better of the two at this stage in terms of dynamism going forward from left back. But he certainly should. There's no reason why he shouldn't be playing a little bit more than he has. He to play 10, 15 minutes at the weekend. And looked. In fact, he not play left midfield when he won. I'm sure he played left midfield. And Hefty played left back. So between the two of them, there maybe is scope.
I think it was a weird one at the weekend. I think the two of them were kind of rotating between the two positions between each other.
It's a bit similar to when Hotham and Whittaker used to do it under Walter, isn't it?
So was Whittaker moving midfield a lot, didn't he? He was. Certainly, it looks like he's got a ball. I suppose my worry would be that he's 21 now, isn't it? And he's probably started 3 games maybe over the course of his time with Rangers. And you've got a 20-year-old that's in front of him, a 23-year-old that's in front of him as well. So I suppose that might limit his future chances, but he certainly is a role to play in the squad this year.
Definitely. Curry's come in with an great point tonight that Yilmaz could be out for a lot longer, and we think should be using Robbie Fraser as he's a better option than Davis in that position. Square pegs and round holes and all that. Bring balance, put the young boy in. You rewarded him with a new 2-year deal. It's time to let him go and develop. Kev, where are you at on
him? I thought he's looked good for the sort of appearances that he has made. I do still think Hefty's a better option at left back. I actually think Hefty will probably hold that place at left back throughout the season. I think he's, for me, watching him at the weekend, I think he plays that sort of position a lot better than what Yilmaz does, and he's probably going to be more reliable. I think I was watching on the Rangers Review the other day that they did an analysis on like how he plays that inverted fullback really well, and I think he adds a lot going forward, which is amazing in terms of coming into that midfield and creating a lot more from inside the pitch, as well as being able to essentially do both ways. He can either take a player on down the wing, link up with the left winger, or he can come inside the field and help try and press going forward. I do think Robbie Fraser's a good option, though. I would be comfortable with having they two as an option for left backs. I think from what we've seen of Bridvan since he's came into the team, he's not going to be particularly reliable. I probably would be comfortable with his being able to move Bridvan on if there's an option. I think the injury's probably going to kill that slightly. Maybe the chances of a team coming in and picking up Bridvan while he's still injured, there might be a pretty low chance of that. But yeah, there's nothing that's concerned me of Robbie Fraser. I don't think he can come in and do a job. And if we do decide to play either him or Hefty one up, I think he's probably one of the most likely candidates out of the 3 that we've spoke about so far to actually get some minutes.
Definitely. Mitch, what about you? Where are you at on him?
I like him. I really like. I like him. I think he's by no means is he a polished player because he's not got that experience under him yet. But I think the cameo that he had against Hearts last season, he looked very comfortable, very tidy on the ball. Doesn't take too many risks, which I like. He doesn't play it, but he also doesn't play it backwards, which is quite comfortable to see as well. He likes to bomb himself forward, but he also knows his own limitations in terms of his pace. When you watch him as well, he knows that there's no point in him whipping 140 yards and try to chase it down himself when he's going to leave the back door open and no make it back. So he's quite, for his age, he's quite smart about how he plays as well. I still think, and probably I'm going to get roasted in the comments for it, I still think Yilmaz is my first choice left back.
I agree, yeah.
And I think that's down to age, experience, and I think whatever it is that's going on with Yilmaz physically, I don't know if it's maybe a bit of overplaying when he was younger in Turkey, and that's maybe caught up with him a little bit now. That needs to get, the root of that needs to get sorted to now, while he's still got the good years in front of him.
Yep.
And I think for me, I would probably still have Robbie Fraser is my first choice while Ridvan's out, and Yefty a wee bit further up the pitch. But again, if we see Yefty in at left back, my only worry about him at left back right now is we've seen it in pre-season. It does get done by a bit of pace and a bit of trickery underfoot, but that's also to be expected with his age. We can't answer the same question about Fraser with that because we've not seen him come up against it yet. So it's I think it's a apples and oranges situation. You can't really be comparing the two of them, and they've not had the same kind of level of experience at that front. So for me, definitely keep him. 2-year contract under him, and he looks like a really good prospect going forward and a solid squad option.
Sounds fair. Cammy's just bust my balloon, by the way, Mitch. Dessers has knocked that move back, apparently.
There we are, mate. That's made my day again. See, he can stay. Doug, can me and you are having words later.
Considering he scored 70% of our goals, we need to keep him.
I know, but I'm just thinking about, in terms of a transfer model, why is Gary, we think we need to get my money back for a 29-year-old. Do you know what I mean? I know you're really carrying on, but...
If we got 6 million, we would take him on it.
Mad knocking back Atlanta, though. That's a massive. It's mad if knocking them back. You've got to play in the Serie A, man. You think you would be all over it.
No, it's in the MLS. It's the MLS.
MLS. Sorry, man. I thought you actually meant Atalanta for Italy. I thought, Jesus Christ, I'd have been right over there, man. Europa League winners class. To be fair, I think right now, I know this isn't about Dessos. This isn't the Dessos show, but me and Mitch were talking about this the other day. He's grew on me, to be fair. I think he's much improved this season, and I think with such a short time to go, and if we weren't looking at striking options anyway, it might be quite hard to replace him right now, and it could actually put us in a worse position than a better position. Granted, though, I do agree if we were getting offered 6 million, then that's a good sum of money that we probably can't turn down, especially a lot of people weren't thinking we're going to turn a profit on Dessers come the end of last season. So I think if there's an option to actually go and turn a profit, then I think the board would be silly not to look at it. But we definitely need a good option as a backup to come in.
I think just to echo that, though, what you need to be careful when it comes to MLS sides and money being offered. Sometimes the figure being quoted and bandied about is actually transfer fee plus salary that's getting bandied about. So the offer itself might not actually be 6 mil on the table. It might very well be, say, 4 and 2. 4 million fee, 2 million in wages. They've got a bit of a habit of overinflating how much they're buying players in for.
I think that was the same for the Abada deal last year, wasn't it?
They said it was 10 million, but it was like £6 million worth of wages over the contract or something.
For me, I don't think he's going anywhere unless a Saudi club come in and pay stupid money, if I'm being honest. Atlanta United compared to Rangers, come on. Do I know Jack
I'll tie myself to his legs, he's no going.
Oh, Christ, that definitely would keep him in the country if you tied yourself to his legs. Right, anyway, we'll just kind of flash over this one. I'll put an opinion. If anybody disagrees, they can come in. Leon King, he's had a run. I think Rangers potentially ruined the guy's youth career with having to play him at centre-back in the Champions League. Don't know how you recover for it. I think he tried last season, played post-split, was found out again at centre-half. I think he needs a loan move. I think he needs 35, 40 matches at a decent level. And then you potentially look to move him on. I don't think he's got it. Does anybody want to come in? Does anybody have a different opinion?
I would just straight move him on now.
Fine. Kev?
I think for me, I don't think he's ready to play with at the moment, just based on what we've seen so far. But what I would say is probably I would give a new contract and loan out. I think it probably just cries out Lewis Mayo to me. That what I wouldn't want to see is that a player ends up moving on and then actually ends up playing well. And you could probably argue that Mayo could probably maybe get minutes for us now. So I think it would be, for me, definitely would loan out. I think I probably see him more as a midfielder than I do a centre-back. I think he plays midfield, if I'm not mistaken, for both the youth team and also for Scotland. But yeah, I think he came in at a horrendous time, to be fair to him. Coming up against really good opposition. I got hung out to dry a wee bit. But I think he probably does need a loan spell at a club in Scotland to try and build up some confidence, build up some first team minutes. Because I think keeping boys like this in the youth side playing friendlies every week isn't going to do him any good. So we need to sort of make a decision, similar to most of the boys that we spoke about so far.
See, weirdly, I think
Gary, you getting non-king?
I'd probably agree with Kev. I think he needs to get a loan deal and see what quality he's got. He's not played enough. He's played about 10 games maybe in the last year or something off the bench and things like that. He had that horrendous Champions League. So I think get him a loan, get him somewhere like Motherwell, Kilmarnock, one of these sort of teams, a year there, see if he's got the quality. He needs to develop. I suppose he's one of the players that needs to kick on. Man United, Arsenal, all these teams wanted him at the time, didn't they? 17, 18-year-old.
Aye.
He was rated one of the best prospects in the UK, So if you can get him on loan, get him 40 games to see whether there's an opportunity for him to kick on again. And like I'm not sure he's a centre-half. I don't think he's physical enough. I don't think he's maybe strong enough, but maybe that might be his biggest undoing is he don't actually know where a position for him. He's not technical enough for right back, not strong enough for centre back, and not skilled enough for central midfield. Possibly that could be his bigger issue going forward.
Do you know what, I agree with there was a lad there in the comments there that flashed up a wee minute ago, Kevin Motherwell. I agree with him. Send him away from the Scottish spotlight and send him down south. Send him down to a League One club, like say a club like Bolton, for example. Send him down there and get him some proper minutes away from the spotlight and away from the frenzy that is Scottish football. Mm-hmm. Let him go and breathe and be. Look how well Yefeko's getting on down at Exeter now. Their fans are screaming and shouting that they want to sign him now before while they've got an option on the table for 50 million. But mate,
sell him quick.
Aye, let him go. Right, Mitch, I'm just coming to you and you only on Archie Stevens. So there's been one Challenge Cup appearance, 1 goal, 1 assist. Now it's hard to get stats on him, but I would probably agree with you that I think this guy needs to be a midfield option. I think there's hundreds of potential. You take a flare, mate.
Mate, I like him. He played really well in pre-season. He got quite a few run-outs in pre-season there as well. He's very direct, very aggressive on the ball. Doesn't mess about with it. He will lose the ball every so often. Personally speaking, I would have him in there as one of my winger options because, as we all know, McCausland can switch between right and left. We've got Kearney on the right anyway. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to make Tierney sound like an old man here, but I'm like, can he mentor 2 young boys at the same time? Aye. With McCausland and Archie Stevens? But I think Archie Stevens, for me, there was a clamour of clubs looking to sign him from down south America and across Europe that wanted him before he penned a new deal with us. And I think now when you've got a player that's that highly thought of across multiple countries, there has to be something special there within him. And I think, don't get me wrong, we might either breed it out of him that he's a talented right winger that can run fast. We might breed that out of him. But, I think personally speaking, keep him in there and let's see what he can do this year.
Gary, Kev, you getting what to say on Archie Stevens?
I'll be honest, I don't know a great deal other than the small flashes I've seen in pre-season, so I'll take Mitch's word for it.
Gary again?
I think probably, to me, he's a right midfielder, right winger. You've got McCausland, who probably needs a year of kicking on as well, from last year, who's a right midfielder. I know Mitch says he can play on the left. The games I've seen him, he can play on the left. McCausland is very much a right winger. And then you've got Tierney, so I'm not sure Stevens will get a lot of game time, and maybe he is one that would benefit from a loan to somewhere like, I think it was Airdrie or something like that. Someone that plays good football, a year in the Championship.
A year by Rhys McCabe.
Something like that might be useful for him. I'm not sure he'll get a lot of game.
I think a lot of players would benefit for a year with Rhys McCabe, if I'm being honest. Right, on to our starting 11s now, on to the fun part of the pod. So this is mine. I've went with Butland, Ryan Fraser, Proper, Suter, Tav, Rice, Barron, Cortez, Hadji, Cherney, and Danilo. Now, this is just me offering up something different. This is just me offering up what's still in the squad, what we can utilise without injuries. I've only put Tav in there because Sterling isn't durable enough. I think it's fair to say with the rumours going about that he's broken his wrist and all that tonight. And Adam Devine isn't good enough, so we've not got anybody else that can come in at right back as far as I'm concerned. Curry and Nicott is probably going to be in the comments, going to be all sorts in a minute, but I just don't think that we've got anybody else to play right back at the minute. Does anybody want to come in on anyone?
Talk to me about Hadji. Why Hadji?
Because I think he's the best number 10 at the club. I think we need to use an ounce of common sense and get the guy around the table and break this clause somehow, if we can.
You say he's the best number 10 at the club at the moment, right? Just to throw this into you, over the last season and a half, tell me what he's done.
Next to nothing, he's not had any opportunities.
How successful was his loan then last year?
How successful was his loan?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're playing in La Liga. Come on, your minutes are going to be a wee bit.
He wasn't that impressive.
A wee bit limited there.
He wasn't all that great. I think that's the only one I would have a question mark on in the selection. Is I think Hadji's one of these ones we'll look through rose-tinted glasses on. Is he a talented player? Absolutely. Is he talented enough for us right now? Probably. But is that the sort of model that we should be building ourselves on for the next 2-3 seasons? I think he's probably already hit his peak.
Billy Curry's come in to back me up. One was successful to get picked for a national team.
He was always getting picked for a national team based on his dado.
But Mitch is better than Tom Lawrence. You can't argue with me on that.
No, to be fair, mate, a wheelie bin's better than him.
Todd Cantwell's too busy making TikToks to play football. Todd Cantwell doesn't care. So who else is there?
I think Diamandi. I know we're going to my team. I think Diamandi in the 10. I think Diamandi being one further forward, you can see his qualities in that position a lot more than what you see in the middle of the field. I think the main problem is we've not got someone to play alongside Barron right now. Maybe Rice is the answer to that question. But I thought Diamandi being in that 10 role and being a bit more advanced was a lot more creative, looked a lot more dangerous, really good touches. He's a lot more athletic than Hadji. I'm not saying Hadji's a terrible option, to be fair. I think if Hadji's fit and the season we went unbeaten to go and win the league, I thought Hadji had a decent season. But I think Diamandi probably just offers a lot more both on and off the ball than what Hadji will, or ever did do beforehand as well.
That's fair. I just feel as if Hadji's versatility in the squad weighs more positively than when it does negatively. Cortez is out for 6 weeks. You can't say Hadji couldn't play as a wide 10 on the left. Do you know what I mean? Drifting inside, too fitted.
I would be interested to see Hadji and Yefty together, like on that left-hand side. Let Yefty go and do all the running.
Aye. This is what I'm meaning. It's about highlighting the options that we've got in my club, and we've still got an awful lot of options. It's good enough to win football matches for me. Gary, where are you on it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that team, and there's a whole host of other players you probably not, as you say, not included there, but Hadji as a player, before he got injured, he was a good player, really good player for us. If we forget, he scored about 20 odd goals, about 50 odd games. I can't remember what it was, but he's scored a lot of big goals for the club. And he got an injury. Went to Alaves, didn't really kick on particularly, but somebody said in the comments he was still trying to back fitness. He did play as a left number 10 for Romania, did he? I'm sure not in Euro. And he's probably one of the better players in the last couple of games that he played. So technical quality, he's got the quality in terms of ability. There's obviously the contract issue that seems to though it's not going to be it's never going to get to see him again in a Rangers shirt. I think one of the big things with him, attitude. He comes across a player that wants to play football. He comes across a player that is professional in what he does. So I think for that alone, he would be an incentive. He can't play left back.
Play right back. Corey's asking if he can play right back.
There's only one man that can play right back. We know that.
Right, Gary, I'm going to come into you with your team now. I'll let you kind of take a floor on it.
Right, so I was basing this on the Olympics. So the Olympics was a couple of weeks ago, and you were able to pick a couple of overage players. So, and looking at the squad, you're trying to pick some players that are maybe a bit different. I tried to base it. Everybody's to be under 23. I was right in my head. Bar by 2 or 3 overage players. So Butland and Tav are the 2 overage players. Again, like you, Scott, I suppose Tav's there because he's the best right back we've got. Even and Sterling's not reliable, as you say, but even if he is, he's probably Tav's still probably the better of the 2. So and Butland's the best keeper between him and Kelly. So if you're looking at the age thing, that's there. Left back Hefty, I think Hefty's a left back. I think we're clamouring a wee bit because he played left midfield that one game, the games against Dynamo Kiev. I think he's better left back.
Too many square pegs and round holes, Gary.
And Salah's a left-footed centre half. King's a right-footed centre half meant to be. So they're both 20 and 19. They both play. And Salah's came from Milan. King's still in the Scotland under 21 team. They should be capable of playing games in the Scottish Premier League. Rice, as not talked about Raskin. Raskin's 23-year-old, isn't he? 22, 23. I can't remember what age he is, but he's still a young player.
22.
So he's still a young player. Do you know, we forget the age of him. And then Matondo's 23, I think. If he gets 24, 25, he might mature and win in a straight line. But at the moment, he's still quite a young player. McCausland, actually, do you know what? I thought last year he was pretty average, if I'm being honest. But I think this year I've been pretty impressed with how he's done. I actually looked as though he's developed his game a wee bit. He looks a little bit more like he's willing to go down the line as opposed to cut inside every single time. And I do think maybe we should be looking to utilise him more. I've said a few times in different pods, we kind of forget about him because he's played 20 odd games, but he's 21, 22. Again, he's the young player coming through that we should actually still have a bit of focus on. And Agamani, I put him in because he's a £2 million signing. If he was sitting beside me right now, I wouldn't know who he was, but we believe he's going to be a good player. He's got plenty of
making balls
potential.
levitate, mate, up the training pitch.
He would. You know, if he was sitting next to me, hand on a Saturday and turned around and spoke to me, I would have no idea who he was. But I believe he's a good player, and would like to see him in the park at one point in time. So, do you know what I would say? But looking at that, right, and that's and battle your team, Scott. So a lot of teams you didn't have players you didn't have. We've got a lot of players. We often worry about how bad it all is. We've got a lot of players, a lot of potential players, and international players at different levels. It's just making sure that they get the right opportunities to showcase it.
100%. And there's this big, massive need to keep winning at Rangers, and that needs to be filled. But if things are the way they seem, then we need a period of transition, and that comes kind of sacrifice, and that's why I kind of wanted to do pod, just to highlight what is available. Kev, where are you at on Gary's team?
Probably just the same point. No Diamande. I think he's our best player, to be fair. I think that's one that I would have added in. I know we chatted through the likes of King and stuff. Again, I get Gary's point. He's trying to do that sort of Olympic setup. I do get that it's probably not our strongest 11 currently. I agree with the point he's making about McCausland. I think he does look a lot better this season so far. I think probably the fact that there's less pressure on him this year, whereas I think he was just flung in last year and like, you are our only option at right wing, you need to play. Whereas I think with Cherny coming in, I think it gives him a bit of a breathing space, and that allows Clement to take him in and out of the squad. And I think he's definitely providing a better option from the bench than maybe what he is starting and trying to play 90 minutes. Yeah.
Can I chip in? I'm getting rattled here for not putting Diamande and Barron in. Just to clarify there, the reason what we want to do are pick fringe players that are young, yes, that are not necessarily featuring. So obviously Barron and Diamande are featuring, so they would win the team. So just we're not excluding them and thinking they shouldn't be there. These are ones that are.
So before anyone watching this with us and like thinks that we're all a bunch of crackpots or whatever as well, we all wanted a bit of variety within our own starting 11s as well. So when you see mine, I look like I've got Wonder Kid FC over there.
It's just about highlighting what City Club, do you know, because we could be in a situation where we don't know where we're going to be sitting coming 1st of September, and we need to kind of highlight what's there. I find Diamande and Barron, we all know how good they are, but what if they pick up an injury or Diamande goes in international duty?
When I look at Gary's team right now, that's a team that, for argument's sake, a bottom 6 SPL team. I expect that team to go out there and win that 1-0, 2-0, and be reasonably okay. Right. There'll be a couple of hairy moments within it, but as you say, Igamani was going to be going to the Olympics had it not been for the injury before the Olympics. You don't be getting picked in that Moroccan team looking at the wealth of talent they've got.
Aye.
You don't get called into that team there if you've not got something about you. But if I seen that team sheet, don't get me wrong, I'd first be going like that, right? There'd be a slight eyebrow raise, but if that came out, against the bottom half SPL team, I would still expect us to be reasonably comfortable.
Yep. Right, Kev, go to come into your team now, mate. I'll let you take it.
No worries. So I went with Butland, Proper, and Ciala. I'd probably swap the two around, to be fair. Hefty at left back, Sterling at right back, Rice and Barron sitting with Lovelace, Diamande, Cherny, and Danilo up top. So I think for me, I was sort of looking for what could our team look like for the years to come. Like sort of that sort of planning for the future and having a sort of bit of a mix between like some of our youth players and some of our experienced players. I worked out the average, because I'm sad like that. I worked out what the average age of this squad is, and it would be 23. which would be a much improved comparison compared to last season's team. And then I used the example earlier on because I actually think I was watching Open Goal earlier on. They were talking about the fact that it was 3 17-year-olds they had in the starting 11. And if a team like the size of Barcelona playing in a much more competitive league can start with 3 17-year-olds, there's no reason why we can't integrate more younger players into our team that can go and make a difference. I think it's about being sort of brave, bringing in the right players at the right time, should I say, and having that sort of good balance between your experienced players without them being too old, and then bringing some newer players in to try and give that energy and that sort of desire to want to go and do well at Rangers and progress their career and drive forward. There's obviously a few players that within that I don't think are better than what we've got right now, but when you're looking at that sort of planning for the future aspect, then yeah, that's what I would go for, especially if there's a real limited amount of funds available for transfers. And if Clermont is going to be given that time by the board and hopefully by the fans, then why not try and do something a bit bolder, doing a bit braver? Clermont makes a lot of comments recently about the Man United 99 team and spoke about a lot of the youth players. So clearly he has that in mind that he wants to do that. So why not just be brave? Why not just put in some of these young boys? If they're good enough, then go for it.
Anybody want to come in?
It looks a much more rounded team. Sorry, Gary, on you go, mate.
I was going to say, I'm laughing at some of the comments saying Kev wins. That's because he's picked half his team's first team players already. That's why. He's bound to win. I think we'd all like to see Danilo get back to fitness and look like a £6 million player. I think that would be fair. Czerny's got a level of quality. Lovelace. I don't know what's Lovelace's position. Is he a centre forward? Is he a wide
player? He can play anywhere across the front three.
Yeah.
Predominantly, though, he plays out in the left.
Yeah.
There's
obviously better players within there, right? Because I do still think Dessers is a better option than Danilo. Personally, I think Dessers probably changed the game when he came on at the weekend, although I thought Danilo was good in flashes. But I think the idea behind my squad was that how do we integrate some of these youth players and then try and build a team for the future? Because it's probably more than likely that maybe after this season, either Dessers, if he manages to get into this season, probably won't be with us, or at least won't be the starter. I think probably Danilo is the one for the future, along with Egeman. It'll be one of the two probably building forwards. Just I think they're more youthful. We invested a lot of money into the both of them, so I can see probably they're more of the future aspects for Rangers.
Matt, do you want to come in?
I mean, naturally, I'm fuming with Kev for not putting Dessers in there, but you know, he had to leave a shining light there for myself. But I, you know, again looking at that team. That's a team that, you know, if you said to me two seasons from now, if that team came out, I'd be quite comfortable with that team being out. You know, it's a team that will have grown together for a good couple of years, and it's a team that. But I also look at some of the names in there. You know, you look at the likes of Sterling over there at right back. He's now in season 2 with us, but also season 3, maybe 4 of his senior career. He's not a halfway boy anymore that's learning how to play football at a senior level. Like, he's quite comfortable in there. He's big, powerful, strong option. Zach Lovelace, we all know what our expectations and the club's expectations of him were pre-injury. For us, it's going to be, how does he look now post-injury? And I think, you know, we'll never know until he plays the minutes.
On you go, Mitch. Your team's up.
Yes. Wonder Kid FC. So we've got about the average age of my team's about 12. They've not had a shade yet. They've got to have dependable Jack at the back. We've got Nasala in there with proper. Robbie Fraser, as we all know, I'm a big advocate for Robbie Fraser anyway. Sterling at the right back. So take that, Curry. I've seen your comments there. There is no Tav in there. We've got Raskin and Barron in the middle. Diamande up top. Igamani out right. Dessers up top, and that's Dessers and Igamani are the way that I've got them the way that I need them right now, so that I could still fit Dessers in the team, and I love Lace out in the left as well. So there we have Wonder Kid FC.
Anybody want to come in? Mitch, I'll bring this comment up first. So Lovelace no more a number 9 and playing on the right rather than the left. Curry's asking.
We've seen a lot more of him in the last kind of season or so, like before the injury, out on the left. But again, I could switch him and Igamani around because apparently Igamani can play across the whole front three anyway. So I'm quite happy to switch them round, but whichever way suits. We both know, actually, originally on the right, I actually wanted Archie Stevens in there. But we weren't quite sure about qualifying rules around Archie Stevens, so Igamani's in there and he's only in there because I couldn't put Stevens in there.
That's fair, MD. Gary, you want to come in on it?
Yeah, no, I think again we've all picked a number of the similar players. They're all of what age is that? Sterling's probably one of the oldest, isn't he? He's 25, 26 now.
I think Sterling's 24.
No, he's older than that. I think he's 25, 26. 25 maybe, isn't he? I thought. So he's one of the more experienced players there. As you say, you've got Butland and Dessers. So there's a decent amount of experience through Proper as well. There's a decent amount of experience throughout the spine of the team. You've got two terriers in the midfield, and Raskin and Barron, and a bit of pace in the sides with Agamani and Lovelace. I think pace and power from what you read about. So, I mean, it's much said. You'd expect a game against Ross County on Saturday to give them a good game, that sort of team, and that's the. I suppose that's the point of this pod. As we get to this point, there's a level of quality there that could be utilised as the season goes on.
And I think when I look at my midfield three, I think that's going to be the interchangeable. For me, the interchangeable midfield three throughout the course of the season. Barring any incomings, I think we'll probably end up seeing the likes of Diamande, Barron, Raskin, and one other rotate between themselves, and that one other for me can't be Sterling. He's got to kick on his natural position at right back. So sorry, Tav, but we'll enjoy your testimonial season while we have you. But I've got to sort of plan for the next
question. I'm just reading. I mean, Sterling is 25, coming up in what 6 weeks or so.
October, aye.
Well, and we can make an assumption about him being a young player developing. He's not a young player, he needs to kick on, and Scott says he needs to actually be fit. There's potentially a reason why he's not getting a first team start every week yet, either in midfield or at right back in any position. I slightly wonder there's a little bit of a myth built up about him that maybe the reality is not quite there.
Do you know what I think? I think the hardest thing for Sterling will be give him 10 games in the team to see, but 10 games in one position, not 10 games in 10 positions. Like, we've seen him, let's be honest, throughout his career with us. We've seen him right back, centre. We've seen him in the centre park. We've seen him out in the right wing. We've seen him out in the left wing, but never want to see that again. But, we've seen him out there. We've seen him out at left back as well. We've seen him filling at centre back. For me, I actually think his best positions are actually centre back and right back. Big physical presence. He's got nice set of powerful legs ready to run forward, burst onto it. And, I would quite like to see him play in what I would call his proper positions.
I think personally Curry's comment has just summed up this whole pod, right? He says he would love that team coming out and every Rangers fan be excited to see it, and it would even pop a challenge. That's the whole point of this pod tonight, is just to bring up that everything's not doom and gloom. There's potential solutions within the building that we can look at. Obviously, Raskin's injured just now, blah, blah, blah. And Ciala's a bit of a project. Lovelace is a bit of a thing, touch and go with his injuries and stuff. Man, probably not going to see him in October, November, going to become on comments and the pressers. But it's not all doom and gloom. There is ability in a building that we can play and develop. And it's not just all about, we've had Lundstrom, Barisic, Tav, Goldson. They all played too many games, and it's about time we start to look at other solutions. And boys, your solutions have been absolutely dead on tonight, if I need to be honest with you. It's all been top class. It's exactly what I wanted. Kev, have you got any last comments on Mitch's 11?
Do you know, back the only thing I've looked at, I think, Gary, you might have, did you have Raskin in your team as well?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I'm going to say probably a split opinion, right? But I'm just not having Raskin, to be fair. I thought his first 6 months that he came into the club, I thought he looked good, but I think since then he just hasn't looked great. I know he's had injuries on and off, and hopefully I'm proved wrong, and hopefully he turns into the player that he was for that sort of 6 months that he was in the team. But I probably just haven't seen enough of him. But I thought that to see what he actually offers, other than sort of that being a dog in the midfield, because I think if I compare like him to Barron, I would take Barron and my team over him every day of the week.
I would rather have them together.
It's hard to say. I think from just in recent times, from what I've seen of Raskin, I just haven't seen what I thought we were going to see after that original 6 months. Very similar to Cantwell. I thought he had a really good first 6 months, and then just haven't really seen anything from them since. And I think it's really easy to come in and play when there's no pressure on you, because realistically the league was done by the time they came in. They played one meaningful game or two meaningful games in the Cups against Celtic, got beaten both of them, and then since then just haven't really seen them kick on. I get that injuries has tampered Raskin slightly, and I get there's probably a slight project player within Raskin. He might become good, but jury's still out for me for Raskin, if I'm honest.
I think on the Raskin debate there, obviously you obviously mentioned him against Celtic in the Cup last season when he played the final game, or when he played the final Old Firm of the season against Celtic. He actually he commanded the midfield a lot better than we've seen in there for a long, long time. And I think part of Raskin's problem was obviously when he took the injury, when he took it, and he was brought in by one manager, that's been replaced. And I think he's had a whole cluster. I better not use the word I was about to use there. Scott will shout at me, but he's had a whole myriad of off-field things in terms of coaches getting changed, philosophies getting changed. He's had the injury. And I think after he took the injury, he looked for a little while like he was lost within himself for a wee bit. And I do think Clement did the right thing by taking him out the fire. And all right, he was on the bench, but he did the right thing by not putting him in there until he was, I think, probably mentally ready more than anything. And I think we've seen that, what the touches against Ajax we've seen there. He was back to being a little bit more crispy in midfield, a bit more snappy with the ball, a bit more snappy going to go and retrieve the ball. I think there's an absolute baller of a player in there. I think sometimes he looks like the player that maybe needs a bit of a cuddle off the pitch.
Mitch, do you know in on the CEO for St Mirren? I know nothing about him.
No wee bits and bobs about him. He's got pretty good records. Obviously, commercially over at St Mirren, he's utilised the space that they've got within the stadium thereabout. Obviously, he's put that mob shop in the stadium. We all know about that, But again, he's getting free money. They're getting free money off space. That let's be honest here, they're probably making far more in whatever revenue split that they've got with that shop than what they would be selling their own kits out the stadium. Let's be kind of crude and a bit frank about it. He's got a fairly decent track record in the business world, but outside of that, don't know a huge variety, like a huge amount on him. But I mean, he knows the Scottish game. He knows how to monetize the Scottish game at a smaller level, and we do know that he likes to do things a lot more kind of community interaction as well. That's something he's prided himself on, even at St Mirren, about a lot of kind of reconnecting fans with players, and a lot of kind of community-led projects as well, like club-funded and club-led projects within the community, including the catering company that sponsors St Mirren. That's actually done through, it's a young person's charity, where kids are needing a wee bit of help. They're basically needing a bit of help and a wee bit of a step up. They're provided opportunities and platforms to obviously get into employment and gain some skills and stuff. And I think that would be maybe good to see at whatever skill and whatever level that can maybe be implemented. I'm not saying change the food at Ibrox, because it's one of the few good things in the last couple of years.
Right, lads, you want to come in, Kev, quickly?
Probably just one thing I would say quickly. I seen there was someone on Twitter, St Mirren fans, saying that this would be a huge loss for St Mirren. I seen a few people questioning. They said he's done amazing things for the club. They said it would be a huge loss if they were to lose him. When he lied and say that I know loads about the guy or what he's done historically, but I think if their own fans would hate to lose him, then I suppose that's only a good thing for us if we are able to get him.
Exactly, and we've done a pod on the CEO position, and director of football and just general board rules. Everybody should head over and check that out as well, worth a watch. We didn't cover this guy, but there was a lot about the role covered and what we need to do off the park, so please head on over and have a look at it. Gary, thanks for coming on. Thanks for all your work tonight, mate.
Cheers, thank you.
Kev, same to you, mate. Thank you.
No worries, thank you very much.
Mitch, cheers for coming on as usual. It's been emotional, mate.
It's been emotional. It's been a pleasure. Aerodynamic FC forever.
Right, everybody, that's us. It's not all doom and gloom at Ibrox. We've tried to offer you solutions tonight on what is in the building, what can be developed, how this all includes this all includes coming into the player trading model as well. So stick with the club, see where we end up on the 1st of September once this transfer window is finally slammed shut. I'll be glad to know what we've got to go with. But in the meantime, we'll be back tomorrow night with a transfer review at 6:30. On Thursday, we're going to do a wee deep dive into the player trading models, continuing on from the pod last Thursday. We'll tune into a wee bit about the board. So we're going to look at how other clubs are run in terms of Brighton, Brentford, Porto, Dortmund, clubs like that, and how we can slowly evolve into a club like that, because I think that's a target within the board at Rangers. So, exciting times ahead. And remember, every night is Rangers Journal night. Cheers.